Good day, everybody. My name is Ryan Tate, and today we're going to talk about streamlining your shipping process. So I wanted to start with a little bit of agenda of what we're going to be covering in today's presentation. First, we're going to talk about a few things to consider. Different shipping options may lead to different shipping solutions. Then we'll take a look at all the shipping options and those products in action. Well, we have a few to consider depending on your needs and getting an exact fit for how you're doing shipping. Whether it be our SYSPRO shipping system that can optionally interface with Starship or be standalone. We have our shipping solution with SYSPRO, and that also interfaces optionally with EDI as well as Starship as needed. ShipLink will be introducing as well with that a new ShipLink LTL interface so we can handle parcel carriers and freight carriers as part with ShipLink. Also, we'll talk about our Collect Advanced Ship program. And then we'll discuss some of the load planning features with the load planning program that's built in as part of the sales orders. And then give you a few more sources for information to get into further detail on any one of these solutions. So first of all, we have a few things we need to consider when it comes to shipping. Things such as, what carriers are we shipping with? Do we ship multiple sales orders in one shipment? Do we need a bill of lading document to be produced? Are we shipping internationally? Do we need to send out advanced ship notices to our customers? Do we want to continue to use the FedEx and UPS software and just bring in the data back and forth between SYSPRO? Do we need to produce EDI documentation? Do we need the details on the contents that are inside each of the packages? And are we using our own delivery trucks? So these questions can help us determine what are the correct shipping solutions that we should be looking at and what will work for us so we can get the most automation possible and ship the way that we need. So let's take a look at a few of those products and find out what solution may be right for your company to handle all of those needs. Before we get into each of the products, there are a few common features I want to discuss. Every single option that we have can update the sales order, whether that's changing the order status or making other updates. It may also create a freight line, and it can include the tracking numbers as comment lines on the order. So if a customer calls up, where's my order, we'll be able to get to that tracking number information as quickly as possible. And it can also handle email notifications to the customers when that shipment happens, either as part of the parcel carriers programs themselves or directly within one of ours. So first I want to take a look at our shipping system, both with and without using Starship. So the shipping system, when it runs standalone, it'll have its own features and can be run in more of a manual process where we're importing rates that we have for our various carriers and making adjustments there. Or it can interface to Starship for real-time shipping considerations. It also includes user-defined rate tables, carrier information. Whatever carriers we're shipping with, the shipping system, you can input those in and bring in those rates so we can ship how we need. It can provide bill of lading documents that may be formatted differently to meet your needs. It has flexible handling charges. Do we need to add handling charges, fuel surcharges, all those different things that are coming up nowadays with different gas prices and changing in the way shipping is done? Do we want to do a simple ship or a pick and pack? A simple ship saying I'm just shipping this order, or a pick and pack where I'm actually boxing up things and knowing and getting the definition for what's in each box and allowing us to identify what is in each of those packs. Now when we add Starship into the mix with the shipping system, it can also add in freight and LTL carriers as well as parcel carriers. So it can provide rate information. You can run end of day reports for FedEx and UPS and the Postal Service automatically built right in with inside of Starship. And it does work with the parcel carriers UPS, FedEx, USPS, as well as DHL for international shipments. It also allows for user-defined carriers to be added. We'll have to bring in the rates for these carriers, but if we have some of those smaller regional carriers that are offering freight services for us, we can still bring in those rates and automate the transfers back and forth inside the sales order. It can support collect on delivery, insurance, and international shipments. And it can interface directly with your scales so we can grab the actual package weight to be used to determine any charges for freight. And printing those carrier-specific labels so I can make sure I'm certified to work with FedEx, UPS, or whatever carrier I happen to be shipping with. If I happen to have contract rates, I can decide to look at my rates by those contract rates or the standard list rates that may be applied. I also can provide a freight estimate at the time of the order. So when I'm taking the order, I want to go out, maybe do some rate shopping, take a look, and have that freight line attached. So I will then be able to use that if, say, I need to charge things on a credit card, I want to make sure I'm booking enough, or if I want to let the customer know what the freight may be and give them some options when I'm placing the order. Then, when it's time to ship, we can go ahead and make any changes as needed and have that freight line updated. On the freight side of things, if we're using things other than parcel carriers, we can work with FedEx, UPS freight options, and also carriers like YRC, used to be Yellow, SMC3, and Freight Quote, which is a freight quoting service. It's a broker that has multiple carriers to use. It will validate the address for you as well. So I want to make sure I have the correct address so I don't get dinged by the carriers for saying it's going to residential when it's commercial or vice versa. I want to make sure everything is correct and we're looking at the correct information. It will also allow for item level integration so we can automate bill of lading and international documents. Do we have customs paperwork that needs to be filled out? And we'll have a lot of that already stored as part of Starship so we can automate that process. Part of the international side is also letting the government know what we're doing. AES is a direct site that offers some of that customs area, and Starship links with AES Direct so we can process customs paperwork directly to the government, get our clearance, and get the correct identification back to our shipment so we know we can process it. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So I'm first going to go ahead and place an order, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you the estimate freight capability, and then we'll come back and we'll ship this order and see how that may update. So I'm going to place my customer in, just get a couple items in here real quick. So I have two items, my A101 and my A100, and they're ready to go, they're ready to ship out. So I'm done with my order now. So now as I go ahead and I end my order, at this point is when I want my freight estimate to come up. So it's going to launch Starship for me. It's going to bring in that freight information. So I know I have these two boxes which have those two items. At this point it's just doing one item per box and it's giving me basically the total weight. And I'm bringing that weight in from the item master file so we can plan, since I don't have the scale at this point since we haven't packaged everything up. So now I want to go ahead and do some rate shopping. Take a look at all of my rates. What are the options here? And in this case it looks like UPS ground is my best option. And it gets there a little later, but it still gives me a good selection here of what I want to see. And I'm looking at my contract weight rates as well. So I'll go ahead and select that. So it brings my freight estimate in. I have a handling charge built in, so it took the freight charges, put in the handling charges so I have my total freight, and now I'm going to have that go ahead and write my freight line to my order. So now we have our estimate order. We can use this on any documents that we need to send out, and then when it comes time to shipping, we can go ahead and modify that as needed. So let's go ahead and say we've packed things up, we're ready to go, let's go ahead and get them out the door. In my case, I'm using a pick and pack option, so I want to have definition of what's in each box. So I bring in my order, and those are my two line items. So I'm going to put one in each box here. So I have my first area here. I'm just going to go ahead and close up this box and close up my second box here. So now I have my items boxed. I have box 159 and 160. So I'd be able to query this and see what's inside. Now I can go ahead and ship my order. I go ahead and bring up that shipment, and it notices, hey, you already had a quote for this. Do you want to pull this up or start a new shipment? In this case, I'm going to go off the quote and make any changes as needed. So I have my changes here. We can see the same weight. We see what's inside the box and my one item inside. I could drag and drop and move things around from here if I wanted to, but I'm happy with my packaging. We have all my address details over here. Everything I'm going to need. Now from the shipping, I'm using UPS and ground as my current area here. We have the estimated areas. That's going to change because we're going to get a new shipment here now in a moment. So I want to clear out this and see when the actual delivery can happen, because when we took the estimate, it's been a couple days now, and things have changed. You'll also notice I'm bringing in the order and purchase order numbers that we have here, so we could use that as part of my order, especially if I want to have that show up on any labeling that's going to be created. We're bringing over the line item details. So this is coming in directly from SYSPRO. I have my standard weight that we're going to look at. No hazardous materials are being considered or anything like that. The actual order that we're looking at, so again, sales order 1509. How many units are there? How many units are on the shipment? Are we shipping the whole thing? What are we looking at here? My sender information, what's going to be used and where is that coming from. And I can keep track of my registrations and my accounts that I'm using for shipping. And the customer is going to. So again, all pulled directly from the sales order. I don't have to re-enter this information. So we have that ready to go. If we look at the rate shopping again, we're going to notice a few things have changed. And now in this case, I have UPS Ground, which is still $27. But I have FedEx Ground, which now can be arriving sooner and is at a better price. So I'm going to change my shipment method. And now because of that, I have my list price, my contract price, what's actually applied, because we have different discounts and handling charges that may need to happen as well. So I have a couple surcharges in here. And that's where we're getting over to here. And whether or not it's calculating any other handling fees or things like that. So this is just letting you know how it came up with that rate. So when we look back at the packaging again, I'm actually going to switch over to the freight option. So now it's a freight is giving me 2 levels of integration or 2 levels of definition. I have my boxes and those boxes can go on a pallet. So I may have multiple pallets and multiple boxes that we're packing up here. Additionally, at this point now I would be able to use the scale and get the actual weight of that pallet, that box, whatever I need. Since we're dealing with freight, it's now opened up my bill of lading information, so I can have all of my bill of lading needs handled here as well. Are we dealing with any hazardous material? What's the freight class? So we can use that to determine any freight charges, and also rate shop with any of the freight carriers we may be working with. If it happens to be an international shipment, we have some international details that we want to have as well. Do we need to produce a commercial invoice? How's that going to work? And what information do we need on there? So this will actually go forward and help us print out that commercial invoice for me. It's also changed automatically to FedEx International since I was using FedEx because it knows once I've gone international, this is no longer a valid carrier. So it's making sure and double checking that what I'm actually shipping can be shipped and it is not going to have any invalid information. With the international side, who's paying the duties and taxes, where's that going about, description of goods so we can use that for customs paperwork, and then the electronic export information filing. So we need this to happen with international documents, and we may use AES Direct to go ahead and file that out. In this case, I'm exempt from international. I don't have to file it in because it's an exempt commodity for me. If I did file and I went with AES Direct, we can then have that ITN number that will be driven back for you that says it's ready to go as far as customs is concerned, so we know we have that against the shipment. But in this case, I'm okay, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at finishing out this shipment. So it's brought back, and now I've actually saved a little bit of change here. It's now only $23 for my shipment. I have my tracking number for the first package, but I really have 2. We'll see that there as well. I'm just going to save that freight line. If I take a look back at that sales order, we'll now see things that have been updated. So I have my updated area. I have updated the order status. It is now ready to invoice. And I've added those 2 tracking numbers for me as well. So I have those tied directly to the order. But let's go back to Starship for a moment. Because I wanted to talk about some of those carriers. We discussed a lot of the carriers that are available. And I mentioned freightquote.com. This is offering an interface to numerous freight carriers. As you can see here, we've got quite a large list. As I start going down through, a lot are through FreightQuote. YRC has its own interface, or I may use that. Same with UPS Freight. We can tie directly to UPS Freight as well. And then all the parcel carriers that I may want to work with. And then the last one is just a user-defined carrier that I got put in. I may also want to look at my inventory items. We may have some information I want to track that is not commonly stored in SYSPRO. It's information for shipment purposes. So I can store additional information here if I need to. In this case, I have packaging scenarios, so I have 1 in a box. So I can have the system automatically learn and automatically pack my boxes for me and help speed along the process if I need to. If it's freight, what class are we looking at? Groupings, information there, so we can handle the freight side. For international, what commodity codes are we looking at here? Is it exempt? What is this going to be? Do we need to get that filing that needs to happen? Do we need a certificate of origin? Is this a NAFTA-based shipment? And how is that going to work? So we can produce all the correct documentation at the end of the day so we have a valid shipment that can go out the door. Is it any hazardous information? So what is hazardous? What's the class of that hazard? So that can be factored into any extra charges that need to happen, as well as what carriers are actually allowed to take that hazardous shipment and get it out the door. We also have a lot of different preferences we can set up. So I want to set up preferences on how I work with my international shipments, how I validate my addresses, how I pack and print, what documents I need to have. So this can help us out. And there's a lot of flexibility built in so that way you can meet your exact needs. So now we've finished our shipment, but let's take a look at a few of the setup options that are available in the shipping system, because I may change some things here. In this case, I did want it to change to a status 8. I may actually want to invoice it right from there as well. Am I estimating freight at the time of order? How do I want these to work? What's my address mapping? How are my addresses set up so that way they bring them over correctly? Because I may set up my addresses differently. How's the integration? Are we using Starship? What version are we using? Do I want the email address to go forward? How do I want this to be passed forward? And am I using simple shipping, or am I picking and packing and getting the definition of what's in each box? And then a few defaults. What's my default carrier I use? Different areas so I can speed along the process. So that was our shipping system, and our shipping system working in conjunction with Starship. Next, we're going to talk about our shipping solution for SYSPRO. So it can also connect to parcel carriers to provide your rate information, to run your end-of-day reports. Can also, one additional area is it will handle multiple sales orders per shipment. If I need to ship multiple orders on the same shipment, I can certainly handle that. It will work with FedEx, UPS, USPS, and DHL, as well as freight carriers. So you can have some user-defined carriers with freight calculator that can be established so we know what that charge is for those freight lines. That freight calculator is going to use user-defined rate tables to calculate the freight charges, whether or not we're importing them directly from the carrier or we're setting them up ourselves. We have some options there. And it also can ship using sales orders or dispatch notes if we're dispatching those items out first. It will also support collect on delivery, interface with any scales that we may connect with so we can get the package weights. You can print those carrier-specific labels to make sure we have our labels validated correctly for which carrier we're shipping with. It can calculate shipment insurance as well if we have some areas where we need that calculated for us. It will track the carton and pallet contents, so I have two levels of integration. So I can say what's in this box and then how many boxes are on this pallet. It can also optionally interface with SYSPRO EDI to produce any advanced shipment notices, commonly referred to as an 856, or to create GSI 128 or UCC 128, their EDI standard labels that need to go out on those boxes and on those items. You can also configure multiple shipping stations, so I may have different options. The shipping station may be a different plant, or it may just be a different way of shipping. Here's my international versus domestic. Here's freight carriers versus parcel and FedEx and UPS. On this shipping station, I want to print the invoice automatically versus another where I want to invoice traditionally. So now let's go ahead and take a look at our shipping solution. First, let's go ahead and take a look at an order I have. So I have my order 1510. It's in the warehouse ready for me to go. And I have a few line items that I want to go ahead and ship out the door. So if we go into my shipping system here, I'm going to select what shipping station I want. Here's going to be my order or my dispatch note. So we bring that in. I know I have my line items that I want to pack. And I can either click on those line items, except where we want. I may auto ship if I have standard boxing factors. I know 5 go in a box. Go ahead and line out the boxes for me. Again, putting in my weight. It can compute the freight charge for us, or if I don't want to have it computed and I'm on the phone with my freight carrier, sometimes their freights go all over the place, so I may want to get a phone call and find out the freight every time regardless, especially some of those smaller regional carriers. I'm okay here. So now I've packed those items in here. I have 2 packs open, and I have 1 tear or 1 pallet open. So what's actually been shipped. And then for the third area here, I can ship that last line. I could scan up here, whether I'm scanning the stock code, a UPC number, or I may have a scan code, especially if I already have some items packed. This item is already in a box. I already have the 2 pumps in a separate box, so I may just scan that barcode box label, and it knows that those 2 are in there. So I got my items packed up in my pallets, in my packs. I'm going to say I'm happy with my order. So my order is ended. Now I could go ahead and continue to ship a second order, or I may say I'm all done with my shipment. So in this case, we're going to be happy with our shipment. We end that out, and that shipment is gone and ready to go. So let's take a look back at that order. So now a few things have happened. I've added several comment lines I wanted to pack up in here. These are optional as far as what I want to come in. I have the tracking numbers coming through. And in this case, I am not charging freight for this particular customer. So how do I know I'm not charging freight? I may set up different charge configurations for when things are going out. Are we going to charge for freight? If certain conditions are met, I may offer free freight. But I still want the cost of that freight to come back to the sales order. Also, that 856, that advanced ship notice, once I've finished that shipment, is now immediately available if I need to send that 856 out to my customers via EDI. So now we've taken a look and we've seen some of the shipping solution and what that can offer. There's a good amount of flexibility depending on who we're shipping with, who we're shipping to, and what items we're shipping. So next we're going to go ahead and discuss ShipLink. And ShipLink is a little bit different than the first two I've shown you here today. And really what makes it different is it uses the carrier software. It is not its own software package replacing a FedEx or a UPS, but it is using that software there to integrate completely. So it'll be WorldShip on the UPS side and the FedEx Ship Manager for FedEx. And it also will have, with the LTL option, a direct tie-in to an LTL interface where we can pick and shop from numerous freight carriers. So some of the benefits of using direct carrier software. The parcel carrier software is available for free. I don't have to pay anything for WorldShip or FedEx. It's there and ready for me. The carrier is responsible for the printer and scale support. I'm using their software, so their scales, their printers, their labels should already be tied in an interface, and you'll have not as much freedom in the choices of printers and scales you want to go with, but you know they're configured to work explicitly for FedEx or work explicitly for UPS. If there's any billing issues, maybe the charge was on wrong, since it happened directly with that carrier software, they are responsible for resolving those billing issues if the charges did not quite match up. So they will make sure things are correct. And it also offers every service option available. Sometimes they're going to add some new options. For example, UPS SurePost or FedEx SmartPost, which starts the shipment in UPS or FedEx, and then the post office is responsible for finishing that. It's a relatively new service, so they may not be available immediately on software systems that are working with multiple systems. Since I'm working directly with the carrier software, it's right there and ready to go. So what are the features of ShipLink? Again, it interfaces to WorldShip and the FedEx Ship Manager. It will print those carrier-specific labels. It passes the sales order information back and forth and updates that sales order information. We have some options on how we update it, much like the other options we've seen today. It'll also update with a multimedia tracking. So I may have a tracking link inside my sales order available as multimedia, so I can click directly on that link to go right to FedEx's tracking page or UPS or what have you. It'll also have the new LTL option we're going to be discussing in a moment that interfaces to over 50 LTL or freight carriers. It will also allow multiple sales orders in a shipment. It can also use dispatch notes or sales orders. It also allows for some user-defined criteria, which may be for free freight or insurance or handling charges, things like that I may want calculated or being charged or not charged based upon certain scenarios. Same thing on collect on delivery and when we want to handle that. And how I want that sales order to update. If certain cases exist, do not update the sales order status. Leave it where it is. If another case exists, go ahead and run the invoice or change it to a status 8 ready to invoice. Also will accommodate some user-defined fields if we need to track some extra information. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the ShipLink offerings. So if I look at my sales order here, I have my sales order with some line items here ready to go. It's in the warehouse, ready to go for me. So let's go ahead and ship one out the door. So I'll bring in that same sales order for me. I may do a batch shipment where I'm shipping multiple different shipments right off the bat, or multiple sales orders. Or do I want to update that sales order to a status 8 or not so it's ready to invoice? I'm going to do that in this case. So when I go to ship, it now passes those details off to me and opens up World Ship. All my shipping details are ready to go. I have all my standard carrier services that I am subscribed to work with UPS. All the UPS options I may have. So largely this is exactly how World Ship is. We're using their exact software. So it's really not a matter of ShipLink can do it. We're passing the information, and then it's all up to World Ship as far as what we can do. If we need additional detail, length, weight details of the package, any information like that, any references as far as the order number, the purchase order number, whatever it may be, along with the regular packages, we can also do freight and use UPS freight activities. So if so, it's going to open up my services for that and change some of the information so we can still get the freight classes and everything we need for a freight shipment versus a parcel carrier shipment. So I have my shipment ready to go. I'll go ahead and process that. We can also read scales as well if we need to. So it's ready, and then it's printing the UPS direct label right there for me. So now I have that shipment done. I can also go ahead and track another shipment. So in this case, I can have multiple orders. I want to say I'm shipping, okay, order 891, and then I'm bringing in another order for that customer to ship as well, just as an option if I need to. So if we go ahead and take a look back at that order again, we're going to see some information updated. One, I have my freight line item for me. I have my tracking information for me, and it's updated my status. Additionally, I do have those hyperlinks so I can track that shipment and click on this link and go right direct to the FedEx UPS website. But there's a few more options when it comes to ShipLink and how we set things up. Am I using delivery notes? Am I using dispatch notes? How do I want that to work? And I can change as I need to. How are we configuring it? What are some of those statuses? Okay, do I want to update the status of the order? Yes, I do. Do I want to allow the orders that are already in status 8 to be shipped? Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Or I may have user-defined carrier. If this field equals this, do not update the status. Same thing when I have freight options. I want to increase the freight amount when certain things increase. I may want to offer free freight to the customer if this field equals yes. So I have a user-defined field I've created. If that equals yes, give them free freight. Or if they reach a certain value, go ahead and give that free freight. So these things can be configured to make sure we're getting the exact shipment the way we need. So now let's take a look at the new LTL or freight option available for ShipLink. And what it does is it provides a real-time interface for the full flow of all shipping data between SYSPRO and any freight shipments. It also will allow tracking of hyperlinks and sales order query the same way we just saw. It can create and maintain any real-time connectivity between the shippers and their carriers. So even after the shipment, I may need to see some information, or maybe I'm getting quotes, and based upon those quotes, I want to decide where that booking comes from. There's a lot of back and forth that I can look at. So it's a full shipment management system. So when it's providing that whole management, I have company-wide visibility of all the shipments that have gone out, maybe what charges we've gotten in the past, what our preferred carrier is versus who we're actually selecting, and what the rate differences are. So there's a lot of data that can be analyzed and metrics to look at to make some good decisions. It's also a carrier-neutral solution. It provides shippers greatest cost savings because I can shop numerous carriers right all together and pick which one works best for me. And it works for shippers processing as few as maybe 40 bill of ladings a month to those doing thousands of shipments in a month. So it's very scalable. So if we take a look at that, I have my demo system. We can manage loads as far as getting a new load or getting a quick quote on ones. Maybe I have multi-stop loads that need to happen. So I want to configure that, and I want to have one truck, and then they're going to stop 1, then stop 2, and so on. What are our quoted loads we have? So I want to view pending loads that I have. Or I've already booked loads. I want to see the ones that are booked but not dispatched. They haven't actually picked them up. And then what's actually in transit? Because I may have tracking information I want to look at there and information that may need to be updated. So a full management area to see anything I need to see with these areas. So I want to search past delivered loads that have come up and see a bit about that. So here I'm looking at a lot of my items that I have in here as far as shipments that are out and going. I'll be able to track them. I can get proof of delivery once that gets back from the carrier, or reprint the bill of lading at any point in time. I have my bill number, PO number is the pro number for tracking, all the information that I may need. If I go into a new quote, here I placed in my customer PO that I'm looking at, my information that I'm going to be going to, and then it's giving me a few quotes for me. So I have 9 pallets, I have my weight that's coming in, where that's going, what's my total weight, and then the various carriers and their rates that they're going to be charging. The raw charge, what the carrier's charging, and any customer charges. So if we need any handling or configuration rules built in, we certainly can do so. So it's giving me my rates, and now I can go ahead and select the carrier that I choose. So I have a lot more carriers selected, but also it's going to tell me some that I cannot create. So it may say I can't go with Dayton Freight because they don't go to this location, because in this area as well. So I know why those ones that did not load and did not give me a quote for, this is the reason why they weren't able to do that. So here we have all of our options when I go to book any quotes that I have. So now I'm going to select the winner for this. I can certainly do so. And especially if I'm picking, there's some built-in rules that we can have. If I pick an item that is not the least cost, for example here, I have one that is a little bit more expensive, but it may be less time. So here is $130, but it gets me there in 1 day as opposed to 2. I may want to use that. So my reason is going to be that I'm expediting that shipment. So I can have the reasons of when I'm selecting different carriers other than the optimal one price-wise, why am I being able to do that? And do I want to restrict that, or do I want to allow it but just give me a reason of why that's happening? There's also a lot of reporting and metrics. This is an example of a case where I looked up Roadrunner, and I wanted to see all the shipments where we selected Roadrunner and what the awarded carrier price was versus the selected. So here we can see Roadrunner was as much as $1,500 more expensive. And that's the reason these carriers all got selected. So here we have my awarded carrier price matching with who we selected. So this is the people that actually got the shipment. And I may want to maybe strip out these parts first, or maybe even get this. I may send this to Roadrunner. I want to try to increase my rates and negotiate better deals with them and say, hey, look at all these shipments you're losing out on because of your pricing. So it gives us some metrics and a little bit of leverage on our shippers to get some better deals. So that was a little bit about the freight or LTL option as a carrier option that is now built in as part of ShipLink. The developers of ShipLink also have a transportation enterprise class shipment management system called Agile Elite. So it's going to provide a lot on the transportation management side. It really is for a lot of heavy duty shipment. It is a browser-based user interface, so nothing needs to be installed. It's completely web-based. It can validate the address, and it is integrated with the SYSPRO order entry, so it can make some changes there. There's import and export shipping compliance, so if we have those international needs, what those documents need to happen. It can also comply with Sarbanes-Oxley for any rules that we need to comply with. Any vendor compliance. Walmart is probably a good example of that. They have certain rules, put the shipment in a certain label, pack it a certain way. I want to make sure I have those rules set up so we don't get dinged with any deductions. Any hazardous materials that need to be shipped out can handle that, no problem as well. It also supports a worldwide origin shipping. Most of the shipping solutions I have shown you today work primarily here for shipments originating in the US. But if I have UK customers or those all around the world, there's a lot of different carriers, different shipping options. In Canada, we have some options, but there is still different carriers. This can handle a lot of different countries, not just the US. It is also modular. So I have Agile Ship, which handles multiple carriers, freight, truckload shippings. Routing software, so we can optimize and automate the shipping process. What routes do we need to go on, especially if I have some multiple stops for freight carriers. Exports for any federal regulations, customs, duties, what we need when we're exporting our product out overseas. Any settlements, so looking at freights and audits and getting payments from our customers and managing that whole solution. So it really offers us I would say it's for those customers who have a very high volume of shipping and need a lot of automation, a lot more things going on. Lastly, we can also look at our Collect Advanced Shipping. Collect offers the shipping functionality of a full warehouse management system without the need for full warehouse management. I'm just looking at the shipment portion here. It offers advanced order picking, wave picking, order allocation rules, so it does a lot more on the picking and packing side as well as handheld integration. It can offer paperless picking through handhelds. It can produce all shipping labels and barcode formats that we need. Any shipping documents that may need to be required. It can also do some load planning, so we have various loads and delivery schedules that need to happen. When are those happening? How much room do we have left? When are we getting things out the door? So we can figure what's actually going to go on the truck. And it can also ship with FedEx, UPS, USPS, or really any LTL carrier on demand. They've integrated a few, but depending on what you need, we can also talk directly to those as well. So when it comes to order allocation and some of the picking process, you'll find Collect really starts at there. So I have various allocation strategies. So what do I want to allocate to ship? I want to take the items that are first expired, first out, or first in, first out, or give me the smallest quantities first and run through that. Or I want to see the optimal number of packages to meet the sales order needs. So it can help define my packaging rules so I can fit items in as few boxes as possible based upon what I have to ship out on my sales order. And it can add new strategies that we need to have as well. These are user defined. So if we look at some of these strategies, I want to go ahead and say, you know what, first expired is what I want to allocate first. After that, I may do FIFO. I only want to allocate full orders or areas like that as well. I may also want to make sure we control that, hey, if I have multiple bins up in my warehouse, go ahead and grab from one that can satisfy the whole order so I don't have to go to multiple locations for one line item. When it comes to the picking, it can be completely paperless via handhelds. There's wave picking, so we can just go one shot through the floor and pick up everything we need. So I may be picking up multiple orders at the same time. I may have some batch picking that we need to look at. Go pick these 10 sales orders. Also, just a simple ship. I just want to get something out the door. It's already packed, picked. Let's just get it on out. So when I'm looking at my order assignment here and paperless picking, it can feed over to my operators what you have. What are my orders I need to go pick? So all I'm doing is looking at my handheld, and it's going to direct me where I need to go. So the orders are typically displayed in due date sequence. They can also be viewed by the pick zone. So if we're going into certain areas, I want to do that. Or if I want to pick by customer. Orders can also be assigned and unassigned and moved around by any supervisor if someone is getting a lot of orders or needed to be pulled off to another assignment. We can make sure that those orders are still getting out and others can be assigned them. And it can eliminate that pick paperwork. So everything is coming off of the handheld, and I can walk around and see what I need to see. So here we're looking at some of our orders, and we'll probably notice some of the color coding. I have mine sequenced by the due date, and then there's a color code for each selection I want to see. So red's letting me know this order's past due. I probably want to pick that pretty quick. Green's due today. We need to also get that due out pretty quickly. Yellow, it's coming up in a couple days or tomorrow. And then white, we got a couple days. So it's letting me know what's the timing on this. I may also want to look at wave picking. So I can pick to ship a carton, or I can pick in multiple orders in one wave through the warehouse. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that, and I'm going to stage it first and then pack it later. And it's typically small items or larger volumes where I don't want to be running all the way back and forth through the floor. I need to really speed up my shipping. I can also pick to a cart or a tote, and then we bring them to the station, and then we do a pack out once we have it. So that's when we're going to go ahead and pick and tell it what's in each box. If we just have a simple ship, I just grab the sales order. The pick list comes out on the handheld. We look at the pick list. It's either by the sales order line, by the location it's in on the floor, what package type we need to look at. You can also do a heavy to light. So I want to pick those heavier items first because I'm going to be walking out with a cart and I need to have those on the bottom so that way as they get lighter, I'm not squishing those lighter items. Any picked item can also be edited at any time up till we've finished that. And then we want to commit that directly to SYSPRO when we're ready and update the orders. Can handle any printing of shipping labels. So what's on this pallet, commonly referred to as license plating. We can have shipping labels unique to what specifications you need to have, and making sure you have the right information or your customer's information on there. So though it can be unique labels by customer, by ship to, by line item number, where do we need those to come in through? So full barcoding is acceptable, so we get everything we need. Also producing any shipping documents that need to happen. So pack lists by container, by line item, bill of ladings, international documentation, whether that be pro forma invoices, commercial invoices, hazardous material information. So it really handles all the documentation side of things as well. So we've seen a number of carriers. I just wanted to give you a brief peek at some of the various offerings that we have for us. But let's take a look back at all of those. So again, there's multiple options in how we ship in SYSPRO. Depending on your needs, we have a product that it will fit your needs. Whether that's our shipping system, with or without Starship, our shipping solution, whether we need to work with Starship again, or produce any EDI documents. ShipLink, that's going to pass through a direct middleware piece to FedEx or UPS software, or using the LTL or freight service as well. And then also the Collect Advanced Ship program that can be part of the Collect Warehouse Management or running standalone just for shipping. Then there's also those delivery options with load planning that we're going to be getting into in a moment as well. And again, I just wanted to point out all shipping solutions can update the sales order, but we have some configuration options on when and where we want that to update. So back at the beginning of this presentation, we had some things to consider. Things like what carriers we're shipping with, do we have international shipments? So now let's answer some of those questions and who does what. So what carriers we ship with? If we ship with UPS, all of our solutions also work with UPS. Same with FedEx. In US, the Postal Service, our shipping solution, Starship and Collect, will work with that just fine. DHL's shipping solution, Starship and Collect also work with. I find DHL is pretty much only international nowadays. All of them have options to work with less than truckload or full freight carriers. Are we shipping multiple sales orders in one shipment? ShipLinks, the shipping solution, and Collect can handle that for us. Do we need bills of lading? All of them can produce a bill of lading for us. Do we have international shipment needs? So ShipLink, the shipping solution, Starship, and Collect can go ahead and do that as well. Do we need to send any advanced shipping notices? So that's where we're going to get into the shipping solution with the EDI. Do we want to continue using that FedEx UPS software? And that's where ShipLink's a little bit differently and will be that middleware piece and still allowing me to use my FedEx UPS software. Any EDI documents that we need to produce. So I may, including that advanced shipment notice, we may have other labeling and other issues as well. And that shipping solution, again, is the direct tie-in with our EDI system. Do you need any of the details? What's in each box? What are on those packages? So the shipping system, both with and without Starship, and the shipping solution can handle that for us. And lastly, do we have our own delivery trucks? So on that note, let's go ahead and take a look at load planning. So what are some of the features of load planning? It's for using your own delivery trucks. We're going to ship things out ourselves. We may have multiple routes that we go on. What customers are on those routes? How often are we driving that route? So we can automate the process. So I have a route. I have 5 customers along it. Who's along it? What's the sequence they go in? How often are we shipping on that route? I leave 3 days a week. It's always Monday, Wednesday, and Friday we do some shipments. What's the capacity of our trucks? We have so much weight and volume that we can take up. So I want to manage that to make sure we're not trying to put too much on our truck. It can also update the order status based upon our configuration. And I can also use sales orders or dispatch notes to feed over into load planning. So load planning is also part of the sales order module. So in the setup side, in sales orders, towards the end we'll see our load planning and where we can set up some of those options as far as how do I want to add new loads? I know I go 3 days a week, so we can start adding those into the future. Where do I want to calculate where things are coming from? How do I want things to happen? Do I want to update the order so it's set to its ready to invoice? So those are some of the options we're going to have. When we go ahead and set it up, we'll set up our route. So in this route, I have so much volume and mass. My limiting is it volume or mass, or is it the first one we get to? So both of these are a factor. If I get to one or the other, that's going to be what limits me. and I'm using this particular truck is who typically goes on this route. And I go once a day, and my delivery frequency is once a day here, and my next daily sequence is going to be the first shipment out the door. When I set up the trucks, what's the limit of those trucks? Who's the driver? Who may be in charge of it? So we can track that as well. So if we go ahead and we take a look at our delivery loads, we have ones here. I have a couple that are ready to go, but I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. So let's go ahead and say it's in the south route. I have so much volume, so much mass. This is my truck I'm going to use. I'm going to use the first truck here. So we have our truck ready to go. And now this is ready. Now we can go ahead and I can route and put sales orders on it. So it's added my limit for me. If I automatically had it create the routes for me, it would have said, okay, let's take the next 10 days and let's do and create those next 10 days here for me. And now all I need to do is go for each of those loads and decide what orders are going to be going on them. So let's go ahead and add some new orders. I can add one sales order at a time. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that. But I may want to add more orders. It's going to take a look at it saying, okay, show me all the orders that are in that delivery route. So I have those customers there. But I may want to select all of those lines and ship those. So it's going to select them all, ship them out. But however, it's still checking to make sure. I don't have enough ship quantity, so I can't put enough on the order. I'm not allowed to go negative. It's going to make sure with checks and balances that I'm only doing things that are actually possible to do. So we have those. If I go back and look at my sales orders, we'll see those two were skipped because they are out of stock. So I have my shipments ready to roll. I can confirm my delivery, and this sets it to the status ready to go and lets us know that it's firmed up. I can now start loading the truck and get things out. So it created that load for me, and now it's approved, it's confirmed, we're ready to go. So if we come back here and we take a look here, we have that one that's approved for me. So we can see those status changes, and I'm just going to say that this shipment happened pretty quickly, and let's go ahead and complete this load. So this is letting us know it's all been shipped, and then depending on my setup options, it can update those sales orders for me. But it's also giving you a warning saying, hey, make sure everything was actually delivered. If, say, a customer wasn't there, I would come back to this load before I completed it and make any changes so it knows what was shipped and what was not. So now they're completed. I can go ahead and I can look at my sales order. And I see those different items, where they're going to be, where my sales orders are at, and the delivery load that it's on. In this case, I'm not updating the order status, but I certainly can. So now this load is all the way complete, and we have our delivery completed for us. So we've taken a look at a number of shipping options, depending on what carriers we ship with, international needs, hazardous materials, freight versus parcel carriers. Then we also took a look at our load planning for using our own trucks for delivery as well. So we took just a brief look to give you an introduction of all the options there. So at this point, if there are any questions, I'll be happy to help answer any for you. Also, additionally, if you'd like to know more, we have the ability to go ahead and talk to your reseller, your local partner, talk to SYSPRO, or go online. So here are the various carriers I mentioned and some more information about them as we need. And we'll be happy to help. As well, please feel free to let us know. And you can email us here at services@us.syspro.com, and we'll be able to happy to help you with any further questions you have. I thank you very much for your time and attention today, and please enjoy the rest of your day.